They tried to keep this footage buried beneath America's rivers, deep inside the waterways stretching from the Mississippi Delta to the darkest tributaries of the Amazon. Ordinary cameras captured creatures that exist in no biology text ever written. One fisherman recorded a towering dark figure that rose from the water, locked eyes with him for 5 seconds, and then sank back down without a splash. He sold his boat 3 months later and never returned. Join us and let's discover what is truly lurking beneath the world's most terrifying rivers. Let's go! Number 13. Paraguay River. In March 2018, a fisherman named Miguel Duarte was paddling along a flooded branch of the Paraguay River near Asunción when he noticed something drifting in the brown current. He assumed it was a stray dog washed downstream by the rains. But as he got closer, that theory died in the water. The torso was bloated and decomposing, skin peeling away in wet gray strips. Then he noticed the hands. Not paws, not claws. A structure that looked unmistakably human. Long, articulated fingers with visible knuckle joints. Miguel called police immediately. Within hours, one word ripped through the town like a brush fire: chupacabra, the legendary blood-draining predator blamed for mutilated livestock across Latin America for generations. Imagine a creature the size of a dog, but with the hand structure of a full-grown man. That is what this body suggested. Local biologists arrived and collected tissue samples for testing. News crews showed up briefly, but the official conclusion was listed as a single devastating word: unclear. Some scientists suspected a decomposed animal warped beyond recognition by weeks in the river. Fair enough, but even they admitted the upper limb configuration was atypical for any known species in the region. The story dominated local conversation for weeks. Children refused to go near the water. Adults cracked nervous jokes about the chupacabra being on river vacation. Yet to this day, no final public report has been released. No species identification, no closure. The most unsettling part is not what Miguel found in that water. It is the fact that nobody in an official capacity ever told us what it was. But if the silence around a floating body unnerves you, wait until you hear what was dragged from the riverbed in Alabama.
Number 12. Camden, Alabama. On May 17, 2014, a fishing crew led by Travis Monroe was working the Alabama River near Camden when their line snagged something they assumed was a waterlogged tree trunk. They started hauling it in. Then the trunk blinked. What surfaced was a living American alligator measuring over 15 feet from snout to tail, weighing close to a full ton. To put that in perspective, this animal was longer than a standard sedan and heavier than a concert grand piano. When they dragged it to the bank, news spread like wildfire through town. Locals came in crowds. Some brought folding chairs and bags of popcorn like it was a county fair. One elderly woman told reporters she had never seen a Jurassic monster outside of a movie theater. Wildlife officials sealed off the site within the hour, but phone cameras had already captured every angle. This alligator shattered size records previously documented anywhere in North America. And what fueled the real debate was not just its length. The skull was unusually wide. The teeth were longer and thicker than average. Alligators as a species have survived for over 200 million years. They outlasted the dinosaurs, the ice ages, and every mass extinction this planet has unleashed. But this specimen looked like it never stopped evolving. Some commenters joked it was the original ancestor returning to reclaim territory. Officials eventually confirmed it was a rare giant American alligator, not a mutation, not a living fossil. But when you stand 3 feet from a reptile the size of a pickup truck, staring into teeth the length of your index finger, every scientific explanation in the world suddenly feels paper thin. And if a known species can hide this much size in a river, imagine what unknown species might be lurking in waters we have never explored.
Only 1% of people know the dark truth behind what we are about to show you next. If you want to be part of the few who actually know what's happening in the world, subscribe and leave a like right now. Done? Look at this.
Number 11. Fukuoka Prefecture. This story reads like it was ripped from a manga, but it was captured on camera in August 2016 in Fukuoka Prefecture, Japan. A fisherman named Hiroshi Tanaka was casting his net into a river when something yanked the line so violently he nearly tumbled overboard. He assumed he had hooked a massive catfish, but when his crew hauled the net closer, every man on that boat froze. Tangled in the mesh was a humanoid figure. Deep green skin stretched over long, thin limbs. The face had features that looked disturbingly human, but with large, sunken eyes spaced too far apart. On its back sat a hard, rounded structure resembling a turtle shell. The creature thrashed for a few agonizing seconds, then slipped free of the netting and vanished beneath the brown surface before anyone could grab hold. But several frames from a bow-mounted camera were saved. Online communities named it instantly, Kappa. In Japanese folklore, the Kappa is a water spirit inhabiting rivers and streams, notorious for dragging unsuspecting humans to a drowning death. Think of it as the Japanese version of the boogeyman, except it lives in the water and has haunted the culture for over 1,000 years. Local authorities offered a clean explanation, probably a large deformed turtle suffering from severe skin disease. But multiple witnesses insisted they clearly saw hand structures with 5 elongated fingers, not flippers, not webbed feet, fingers. Interestingly, a nearby shop began selling kappa-shaped pastries within days. The Japanese have a remarkable gift for converting raw terror into a business opportunity. Hiroshi himself was not amused. He quietly changed his fishing spot and never returned to that stretch of river. And something even stranger was caught on camera thousands of miles away in the Texas heat.
Number 10. Loveland Frogman. September 3, 2022. A dusty irrigation canal near Locke, Texas. A man named Marcus Hale was filming a casual catfish video. Sky pale, grass dry and brittle, everything perfectly ordinary. Until something appeared moving upstream against the current. Marcus assumed it was a plastic trash bag caught in the flow. Then the trash bag crawled out of the water onto the bank. Picture a frog inflated to 10 times its normal size. Round, yellowish, slick like raw rubber. No visible limbs, just a swollen mass that slowly contracted and expanded with heavy, deliberate rhythm, as if something inside was pumping it full. Marcus froze behind the camera. You can hear him whisper on the recording. "What the hell is that?" Then a sound came from inside the mass. Not a croak, not a splash. It sounded like someone knocking on an empty metal drum. Hollow, rhythmic, deeply wrong. In one sudden motion, the thing shrank, slid back into the canal without making a single splash. The surface parted gently, far too gently for something that size, as if a much larger presence waited just below to receive it. Some viewers said the creature was likely an animal poisoned and bloated by agricultural chemicals leaching into the canal. A tidy explanation. Others connected it to the legend of the Loveland Frogman, an amphibian-like cryptid reported near rivers in Ohio since the 1970s. Imagine a being somewhere between a man and a bullfrog, standing upright, roughly 4 feet tall, spotted near drainage ditches in the dead of night. Marcus deleted the video after 2 weeks. He said he received too many strange and threatening messages. I managed to save a copy before it vanished, and every time I watch it, I cannot shake the feeling that whatever was inside that swollen mass was staring directly back through the camera lens.
Number 9. George L. Smith State Park. June 11th, 2023. A man named Robert Jenkins was kayaking solo through a cypress-lined channel at George L. Smith State Park in Georgia. He was filming nature footage for his grandson. Camera already rolling, Spanish moss draping from the branches, water dark as black tea, a perfect southern postcard. Then Robert noticed something glinting just beneath the surface. Small stones, he thought, reflecting the morning sunlight. They formed neat lines, drifting slowly, creating almost no wake. He muttered on camera, "Must be rocks catching the light." But rocks do not travel in formation. Curiosity took over. He zoomed in, and in that single moment, your blood turns to ice. Not stones, eyes. Dozens of pairs of eyes sitting just above the waterline. Between 50 and 60 American alligators were silently gliding past his kayak. Some were close enough to touch with a paddle. No roaring, no violent tail slaps, just the massive, silent presence of apex predators that have ruled this planet's waterways for over 200 million years. Picture floating alone in a bathtub and suddenly realizing the bathtub is alive. That is roughly how Robert described the feeling. Most people would have paddled like Olympic sprinters. Robert did not move. He kept the camera steady, controlled his breathing, and made zero sudden movement. He knew alligators strike fastest when they sense panic. The video later exploded across social media. Experts explained it as seasonal congregation tied to breeding activity. A perfectly rational answer. But when you are sitting in a plastic kayak surrounded by 60 sets of prehistoric eyes, rationality is the first thing that sinks. Robert paddled through unharmed. When asked what it felt like, he smiled and said, "I think I borrowed their territory for a minute." And he was probably right. But borrowing territory from 60 alligators is nothing compared to what has been staring back from beneath one particular bridge for over 70 years.
Number 8. Green-clawed beast. No one knows exactly when the legend started. Some trace it to 1955 beneath an old bridge near Evansville, Indiana. Others insist it is far older, just never written down. The story goes like this. On a humid summer night, a woman crossing a bridge over the Ohio River heard movement in the dark water below. Not fish, not waves, something breathing. When she looked over the railing, a face stared back. The upper half was unmistakably human-like, broad shoulders, thick neck, but the skin was slick and greenish like a scaled fish, and the eyes were completely black. No whites, no reflection, just two dark, empty pits locked onto hers. She ran. The story burned through town and earned a name, the Green-Clawed Beast. Local fishermen had a simpler label, the Thing Under the Bridge. Decades passed. The tale faded into campfire folklore. Then recently, a new video circulated online. Phone footage aimed straight down into the muddy Ohio River. In the brown water, a humanoid form hovered near the surface. Head and upper torso visible, lower body buried in silt. It did not attack. It did not roar. It just stared upward, mouth slightly open like a fish gasping for air. Some viewers claimed that slowing the footage frame by frame revealed gill-like slits along the neck. Others swore they spotted small fins folded behind the ears. Skeptics laughed and called it amateur CGI, but residents who actually live near that bridge stayed noticeably quiet. One elderly fisherman admitted he saw something from a distance when he was a boy. He never returned to that stretch of river. Nobody has proven this story true. Nobody has disproven it either. And the Ohio River keeps flowing, dark and patient, under the same old bridge. But what the Carter family encountered on a lazy afternoon in Florida makes the green-clawed beast look like a minnow.
Number 7. St. John's River. August 22nd, 2022, the Carter family of 3 rented a small boat on the St. John's River in Florida for a quiet afternoon drift. Engine off, just gentle water sounds and distant birdsong. Then Melissa Carter saw it first. Something was moving upstream. No splash, no wake. It glided through the water as if the river itself parted for it. From a distance, it looked crocodilian, but as it drew closer, they realized its length far exceeded any American alligator ever recorded. Imagine a school bus floating just beneath the surface. Along its spine, white bone-like spikes rose in perfect alignment, standing rigid like fence posts hammered into the deck of an ancient warship. They did not sway with the current. They only vibrated faintly in the breeze. The creature passed within 6 feet of their boat. It did not submerge. It did not react. It glided past as if the family simply did not exist. Their son, Tyler, grabbed his phone to record. The screen went black. A second phone did the same. Only the father's old GoPro kept filming. Melissa later said the air around them felt thick, pressurized, like the seconds before a violent thunderstorm. In the final frames, a pale streak detached from the creature's back. One of the bone spikes appeared to fall silently into the water. No splash, just gone. Online theorists linked the sighting to legends of prehistoric river drakes, ancient reptilian creatures thought to be long extinct. Others insisted it was visual distortion caused by light refracting off the surface. But all 3 family members described the identical creature independently, and the GoPro captured exactly what they claimed. No official explanation was ever offered. And if this creature gliding through Florida sounds like science fiction, what emerged from the fog in Alabama felt more like a nightmare that forgot to end.
Number 6. Columbia River. The video was posted December 28, 2024 on social media. According to the description, it was filmed along the Columbia River near Astoria, Oregon, after an unusually violent high tide the night before. The man behind the camera is believed to be Mark Ellison, 42, from Portland. He said he was shooting the sunrise when he spotted a pale pink mass lying on the wet sand. At first, Mark thought it was a beached jellyfish or a decomposing stingray. He stepped closer and stopped dead. The mass was nearly 8 feet long. Lay it next to a king-size mattress and it would hang over the edge. The upper section had a structure resembling a human head with 2 deep black eye sockets and no visible pupils. The mouth was a vertical slit. No teeth. Along the body ran a ridge like a spine pressing outward against thin translucent skin. 2 lower appendages stretched together, then split apart like a warped fishtail. Surrounding the entire form was a membrane of tissue that looked embryonic, unfinished, as though this thing had been pulled from the ocean before it was done forming. The strangest detail was the total absence of decay. No flies, nobody mentioned a smell. The lighting and shadows in the footage appeared completely natural, with no visible cuts or edits. After the clip went viral, opinions split into two camps. One group insisted it was a biomodel generated by artificial intelligence to stress test public trust. The other linked it to deep-sea organisms deformed after being pushed ashore by extreme tidal pressure, with some citing old Pacific Northwest stories of sea humanoids surfacing during violent storms. Sometimes the most haunting thing about footage is not what it shows you, but the vast empty space of information it refuses to fill. And that empty space only gets darker when something surfaces through fog.
Number 5. Tombigbee River. April 12, 2021. A foggy morning on the Tombigbee River in Alabama. A bridge maintenance crew of 3, led by Supervisor Harold Finch, was inspecting old suspension cables above the water. The fog was so thick the river below looked like a gray void. Picture staring into a bowl of smoke and trying to find the bottom. That was the visibility. Then the water began to bubble. Not the gentle pop of a fish surfacing, not a distant motorboat engine. Something heavy struck upward from beneath. A dense, solid mass broke through the surface and rose into view. Harold later reported he simultaneously felt metal vibrating inside the bridge structure beneath his boots. The shape that emerged was dark and rounded. It rotated slowly in a deliberate circle, as though testing the air, scanning its surroundings with clear intent. This was not random drift. This was awareness. Then came the sound, a deep, rhythmic breathing that none of the 3 men could identify. Not an animal exhale, not wind trapped in a pipe. Harold described it as an air compressor cycling on and off, mechanical, measured, inhuman. The crew stood motionless on the bridge above. Nobody spoke. Nobody reached for a phone. The creature hung at the surface for nearly a full minute, then sank back slowly, almost casually, as if it chose to leave on its own terms. The water around the spot stayed dark and discolored for hours afterward, a stain spreading outward in a near-perfect circle. It sounds like a scene from a low-budget horror film, but an internal Pickens County infrastructure report confirmed unusual structural vibration recorded on that bridge on that exact morning. No further explanation was included. If legends of river leviathans in the American South have survived for centuries, maybe they survived that long because they are based on something that is still down there.
Number 4. Altamaha River. July 14, 2023, the banks of the Altamaha River in southern Georgia. Daniel Brooks, a biology graduate student from Savannah University, was there with 2 colleagues to collect freshwater ecosystem data after a brutal heat wave. Standard field research, routine procedures, until they found the body. It was lying half in the water, half on the muddy bank, upper torso swollen and tilted above the surface. The skin was thick and wrinkled, a pale grayish color like rubber left soaking for days. And the proportions were all wrong. The shoulders were too wide and too symmetrical. The lower body tapered into something narrow and undefined. No fur, no obvious scales. It looked almost human, but smooth and unnaturally heavy in a way that made your brain lock up trying to categorize it. Imagine a mannequin sculpted from wet clay, then abandoned in a river for a week. That is the closest visual comparison. Except this was on camera, filmed by trained scientists. Daniel later said he raised his hand and pointed at it, but physically could not speak. No one on the team dared name a species. No one offered a theory while the camera was recording. Some viewers later suggested it was a decomposed animal warped by extreme heat and prolonged water exposure. Logical. But why did the shoulder structure look so anatomically balanced? Why did the head have a curve that perfectly mirrors a human forehead? Others connected the sighting to old legends of river humanoids, half-human, half-aquatic beings whispered about across the American Southeast for generations. The clip cuts off abruptly. No screams, no dramatic reaction, just wind and water lapping at the shore. Daniel reported the sighting to a local environmental agency. He received no official response. That silence is what keeps this story breathing. But if a silent body on a Georgia riverbank disturbs you, what surfaced in a Louisiana swamp one October evening will haunt your sleep.
Number 3. Atchafalaya River. This moment lasted 3 seconds, and sometimes 3 seconds of footage are more terrifying than a full-length horror film. October 9th, 2020. A branch of the Atchafalaya River in Louisiana. Raymond Cole was sitting alone in a canoe at dusk. The air was perfectly still. No birds, no boat engines, no wind. He had the camera running to capture sunset reflections on the flat, glassy water. Then, at the 3-second mark, it appeared. A shape rose just beneath the surface, less than 10 feet from the canoe. At first glance, it resembled a massive water snake. But when I froze the frame and examined it pixel by pixel, my skin crawled. 4 heads.
Not a reflection, not tangled branches, 4 distinct snake-like heads connected to a single thick, dark body, each one angled in a slightly different direction, as if scanning multiple zones simultaneously. And here is the detail that truly makes this footage unbearable. The creature did not create a single ripple. Something that large should displace water. It should disturb the surface. But the river stayed perfectly smooth and still, as if the thing was hovering inside the water without fully touching it, as if it existed there but was not entirely part of this world. Raymond told a local news outlet he was not sure what his own highs had registered, so his brain simply shut down. He sat motionless in that canoe while the thing hovered beneath him. Some immediately referenced the hydra of Greek mythology, the multi-headed serpent that could not be destroyed. In the American South, there are generations-old stories of many-headed river serpents surfacing before catastrophic events, floods, hurricanes, unexplained disappearances. To this day, no one has explained what Raymond's camera recorded in that Louisiana swamp. But what a helicopter filmed above the Amazon makes 4 heads look like a warm-up act.
Number 2, Amazon River. Imagine flying above the Amazon rainforest. No cell signal, no roads, just endless green canopy stretching to every horizon, and a muddy river twisting below like a living vein. Then the pilot tells you to look down. This footage was reportedly captured in November 2024 from a civilian helicopter surveying Amazonas State, Brazil. The cameraman was Lucas Ferreira, 33, a freelance videographer hired by a legal logging company to inspect a river route after heavy rains. Routine work. Until pilot Joel Mendez dropped altitude after spotting strange movement on the water. From the murky brown surface, a dark mass rose. Not a crocodile, not driftwood, not a floating log. It had the unmistakable shape of a giant human head. A defined brow ridge, deep-set eye sockets, long dark hair clinging together and fanning across the water like riverweed. Only the face and broad shoulders broke the surface. The body stayed submerged. Think of someone standing chin-deep in a pool, except this pool was half a mile wide and the figure was the size of a compact car. As the helicopter banked left, the head slowly rotated to track the aircraft. It did not lunge, it did not dive, it watched. And what sent thousands of viewers into a spiral was the quality of that motion. Not jerky like bad CGI, smooth, heavy, weighted, like something with enormous real mass responding to gravity and current. Seconds later, the water in front of it rolled upward as though a massive body beneath was pushing forward. Thick waves struck the sandy bank. Then it sank. No violent splash, a quiet, controlled disappearance. Locals cited the Boto Encantado, a river spirit said to shapeshift into human form. Others referenced Yakumama, the colossal mother serpent of Amazonian myth. The Amazon basin covers over 2 million square miles. Entire regions remain untouched by human feet. And whatever stared up at that helicopter knows those numbers better than we ever will.
Number 1. Javari River. April 2025. A man named Daniel Ruiz, 38, was paddling a small aluminum boat along a remote tributary near the Peru-Brazil border, alone, setting fishing nets in the early morning mist. The jungle pressed in from both sides so thick the light turned everything gray-green. Then Daniel heard the water being torn apart. Not a fish jumping, not a branch falling, the sound of something massive splitting the river open from below. From dense brush at the water's edge, it emerged. It did not jump. It did not charge. It stood up from the river as if the water weighed nothing. A dark body nearly as tall as 2 grown men stacked. Broad shoulders, an oversized head, long arms hanging low, almost touching the surface. Picture the tallest person you have ever seen, then double their width and place them in the middle of a jungle river where no human settlement exists for 100 miles in any direction. Daniel froze. No screaming, no paddling. The bow-mounted camera kept recording. The creature stepped forward. The river split aside, waves slapping the aluminum hull hard enough to rock the boat. But the worst detail was the eyes. No reflection, no blinking. A fixed, steady stare locked directly onto Daniel from less than 30 feet away. That standoff lasted 5 seconds. Daniel later told friends it felt like a full minute trapped inside his own skull. Then the creature turned toward the tree line and lowered itself back into the river, swallowed by it as though it had never existed. Daniel returned to town that same day but did not upload the footage for 2 weeks. According to his wife, he began having nightmares immediately. He would jolt awake hearing water parting beside his ears. Once he whispered that he dreamed the creature stood next to his bed while river water dripped onto the bedroom floor. He sold his boat 3 months later. He
he has never gone back. Some say artificial intelligence, others suggest a large primate or a trick of the light. Daniel swears he never once believed in monsters until the river opened up in front of him and something inside it stood up and stared back.
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.